The first Republican debate is next week, and the big question for Republican voters and the Fox execs who recently held a pleading dinner with him is, will Donald Trump show up? Skipping debates isn't exactly new for the 4 times indicted non-billionaire. Call it an unoriginal rerun of his 2016 playbook. According to NBC News, Trump has told people he will not attend, opting instead for a sit-down interview with a guy who used to have a really racist show on Fox. What's his name again? I don't know. I just can't recall. Something related to Swanson fish sticks? Colton, Carlson, something. Anywho, Trump's team says nothing has been decided. So apparently whoever that guy is hasn't even confirmed. But if Trump's not there, the top target on the stage will very likely be the distant runner-up in most of the polls, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So what's his plan? Well, the DeSantis super PAC Never Back Down posted a debate strategy memo that urged the Disney battler to attack President Biden and distant 4th or 5th place candidate Vivek Ramaswamy while defending Trump and amazingly show emotion, a thing he's struggled with for most of his political career. It is hard to overstate how baffling it is that this stuff was written down, let alone published by someone ostensibly on his side. One Republican strategist told NBC, quote, if I wanted to sabotage Ron DeSantis, I'd write this dung debate strategy memo and put it online and then tip off a reporter, which someone apparently did. Joining me now are Dino Vidala, host of SiriusXM's Dino Vidala Show and an MSNBC Daily columnist, and Brian Tyler Cohen, progressive YouTube creator and an MSNBC political contributor. Thank you all for being here, Brian. I mangled your name because reading is fundamental, so I'm going to make you go first. I have to be honest with you. Like, I used to work in campaigns, and I can tell you one thing we would never do is put forward the debate strategy so that we could follow, so that Dean Obeidallah could follow along and make fun of this man throughout the whole debate, which Dean is going to do. He's nodding. But I just want to get your take first. I'm going to let you go first. Here's his 4 basic must-dos. Attack Joe Biden in the media 3 to 5 times. State a positive vision 2 to 3 times. Hammer Vivek Ramaswamy in a response. And defend Donald Trump in absentia in response to Chris Christie's attack. Your thoughts?
Look, I'm no high-profile political consultant, right? But I guess I'm of the mind that when you are competing with someone for anything, the goal is generally to try and beat them. Donald Trump is the only thing standing between Ron DeSantis and winning the Republican nomination as it stands right now. And so, it really is telling that weakness and capitulation are kind of built into his campaign. And so I don't see how there's a path to victory when losing is the strategy, the purposeful strategy to get you there.
Dean, number one, first of all, how many times are you going to make fun of Ron DeSantis per hour when he does any of these things? Because I anticipate it's going to be hilarious and that you're going to do it like every time.
We will, but you know who's going to do it in real time? Chris Christie. And Chris Christie's going to print that out and go, oh, look, Ron, you're following along there. Paragraph 3. You just attacked me twice, defended Donald Trump. Oh, 3 to 5 times you attacked Joe Biden. It's going to be priceless. We're all going to be laughing. They should do a drinking game. Every time he does one of the things, and then by the end of it, everyone's just drunk and wasted. So, look, and what's missing from the list is Ron DeSantis is going to come out wearing a MAGA hat and MAGA gear and carrying a MAGA flag. This whole thing's going to be a salute to Donald Trump, the fascist leader. It's not a debate. It's like, how much I love Trump more. No, I love Trump more. And then when Chris Christie criticizes, they're going to be chanting to his face, Trump, Trump, Trump. This is going to be unlike any debate we've ever seen in our lives.
It's wild. Okay, because what's happening, Brian, is that you're going to have a Trump cheerleading fest on Fox. And then Trump cheerleading fest on Twitter Spaces or whatever they call the thing now with, the guy that used to have a Fox, that got fired from Fox, And so they're all going to be cheering for Trump. Why even have a debate if the whole point of all of it is they're all going to cheer for Trump and Trump's cheering for Trump too?
Yeah, I mean, that is the whole point. They're all apparently running for second place. I mean, I'm not sure what they're actually trying to do. They're stuck in this weird spot where obviously they purportedly want to win the Republican nomination themselves, and yet all of them are too scared to A, go after him because they don't want to incur the wrath of Donald Trump himself, and B, they have, they have groomed basically the Republican base to believe everything and anything that Donald Trump says. And so when he has said all these lies and everything, now they believe every word he says. And so they believe him now. They're on his team now through thick and thin. And so there's really no way through this because of what they've done themselves and what they continue to do by continuing to entrench his superiority in the Republican Party.
And, let's talk about this guy, Ron DeSantis, for just a moment, Dean. Some Florida Republicans say that they really did respect him to implode. You know, there is a saying in Florida, there are two kinds of people in Florida, people who think that Ron DeSantis can be president and people who've met Ron DeSantis. There is a famous or infamous story that Gwen Graham, who was a member of Congress, fellow member of Congress with him at one point, they were both running in 2018. She's running for a spot. He was running for governor. They ran into each other in the airport. He had his headphones in and pretended he didn't see her. She's talking to him. He's just not responding and just acted like he didn't see her. And she said it was one of the weirdest moments of her political career. That is a well-known story about Ron DeSantis. People are openly giving quotes about how weird and awkward he is. What do you expect him to do other than do the things on his list? Like, is he going to be polling number 2 after the debate? Can you imagine that?
No, first of all, Ron DeSantis is doing a great impression of a human being, but he's failing at that. Like, he is human-esque. He is not human. There's no warmth at all. I will say, on paper, his pedigree, really impressive. Yale, graduate with honors, captain of the baseball team. Harvard Law School with honors, service in the military. So there he has that. Then you meet the guy and you're like, that's the guy from the resume? So at the debate, I expect Ron DeSantis to pick up the paper and actually read it, what he's supposed to be doing. But I think, honestly, Trump's making a mistake. I think a star is going to be born in this debate. We've seen it in Democratic debates in 2020. Somebody emerges, and then the media gravitates around them. The person raises funds, and then Trump is then stuck with someone who's not going to catch them or not right away, but actually a competitor. And it won't be Ron DeSantis. I'm not sure. It could be Tim Scott. It could be Nikki Haley. I'm not sure who it's going to be. But I can assure you the media is going to crown a winner from that debate. It's going to drive Donald Trump crazy.
The showdown I really do want to see, though, honestly, is Chris Christie versus Trump. Bully versus bully. I really want to see that. It is interesting, Brian, that Rupert Murdoch has a candidate that, as Dean describes, and it is the governor of Virginia, the book-banning, racist-ish governor, like no black books, no black history governor of Virginia. Your thoughts on them trying to find their own candidate, the Murdochs?
I mean, it's the same problem that I was speaking about before. They have spent so long running cover for Donald Trump that the idea that they're going to be able to pry the same viewers who they groomed to follow Donald Trump off the cliff is asinine. I mean, he runs that party, and it's by their own help. So this idea that Rupert Murdoch thinks he's going to come and pry them away from the very people who he pushed toward Donald Trump just kind of defies logic.
Yeah, all of it does. Okay, well, Dean and Brian have graciously agreed to stick around.